The blizzard howled across the frozen plains of Kepler 442b with a fury that seemed almost sentient. In the distance, the domed structures of the Zelthari colony shimmered like ice crystals, their translucent walls reflecting the pale blue light of the system's distant star. Inside those walls, thousands of Zelthari went about their daily routines, their elongated limbs moving with practiced grace, their large eyes focused on screens and tasks that had been repeated for generations. Frozen stumbled through the snow, her breathing labored and shallow. Her skin, normally a healthy shade of violet gray, had taken on a sickly pallor. The fever that racked her body made each step an agony, and her vision blurred as ice crystals clung to her delicate features. She had been on her way to the medical facility when the illness had overwhelmed her, and now she found herself outside the colony's main entrance. Her legs giving way beneath her, she collapsed onto the frozen ground, her body creating a small crater in the pristine snow. Through the transparent walls, she could see dozens of her people moving about their business. Some glanced in her direction, their expressions unreadable behind the cold calculation that defines Zelthari society. The colony's protocols were clear. Those who fell outside the protective barriers during a storm were to be left until the weather cleared. Resources could not be wasted on uncertain rescues. The needs of the many outweighed the needs of the one. Frozen's eyes fluttered closed. She accepted her fate with the resignation that had been bred into her species over millennia. This was the way of things. This was logical. But someone else saw things differently. Finch had been observing the colony from his small research outpost on the opposite ridge. As the only human representative on Kepler 442b, his job was to study the Zelthari culture and report back to Earth. He'd spent 6 months among them, learning their language, their customs, their cold, calculating way of existence. He respected their efficiency, but something about their emotional detachment had always troubled him. Through his binoculars, he watched the small figure collapse in the snow. He saw the Zelthari inside the colony notice and then deliberately turn away. His jaw clenched. "Protocols be damned," he muttered, already pulling on his thermal suit. His AI assistant, Arya, immediately protested. "Finch, the storm is intensifying. The temperature is dropping to -60 degrees Celsius. The wind speed is— I don't care about the numbers, Arya. Someone's dying out there. The Zelthari have chosen not to intervene. Your interference could be seen as a violation of their cultural autonomy." Finch sealed his helmet and checked his oxygen levels. "Then let them file a complaint. I'm human, and humans don't leave people to die when we can do something about it." He stepped out into the blizzard. The wind hit him like a physical force, nearly knocking him off his feet. The snow was so thick he could barely see 3 meters ahead. But Finch had always been stubborn. His academy instructors had called it his greatest flaw and his greatest strength. He activated his suit's navigation system and pushed forward, one step at a time. Inside the colony, several Zelthari had gathered near the transparent wall, watching with academic curiosity as the human figure struggled through the storm. They found his behavior illogical, inefficient, and utterly fascinating. Some began taking notes. Frozen was barely conscious when she felt something warm touch her shoulder. Through her fever-addled mind, she tried to make sense of what was happening. Strong arms lifted her from the snow, cradling her against something solid and warm. She forced her eyes open and found herself staring into a face unlike any she had ever seen. Rounded features, small eyes, skin the color of rich earth. A human. "I've got you," Finch said, though she couldn't understand his words. "You're going to be okay." The journey back was hellish. Finch's muscles screamed with the effort of carrying Frozen's weight through the storm. His suit's heating system was working overtime, and Arya kept providing unhelpful updates about his declining energy reserves. But he didn't stop. He couldn't stop. Frozen drifted in and out of consciousness, but each time she woke, she saw the same determined expression on the human's face. He was suffering. She could see it in the way he gritted his teeth, in the trembling of his arms. Yet, he didn't put her down. He didn't give up. It defied everything she had been taught about survival and logic. When Finch finally reached the colony's medical entrance, he was at the edge of collapse himself. He pounded on the door with his fist, and after a long moment, it slid open. Medical personnel stood waiting, their large eyes blinking in surprise. "Help her," Finch gasped, gently lowering Frozen onto a medical platform. "She needs treatment." Now, the Zelthari medical team moved with efficient precision, immediately beginning their scans and treatments. Finch stood there, swaying slightly, watching to make sure they would actually help her. Only when he was satisfied that she was receiving proper care did he allow himself to slump against the wall. One of the elder Zelthari approached him slowly. Human Finch, she said in accented standard. Your actions were illogical. You risked your life for one individual. The probability of success was less than 40%. Finch pulled off his helmet and looked at her with tired eyes. Maybe that's the difference between us. We humans don't calculate the odds before we decide someone's worth saving. We just save them. The elder was silent for a long moment. We have much to learn from your species. On the medical platform, Frozen's eyes opened fully for the first time. She turned her head and found Finch watching her with concern. Their eyes met across the room, and something passed between them: understanding, gratitude, and the beginning of something neither of their species had words for yet. She raised one weak hand in what she hoped he would understand as a gesture of thanks. Finch smiled and nodded. Outside, the blizzard continued to rage, but inside the colony, something had shifted. The Zelthari who had witnessed the humans' actions began to question their protocols, their calculations, their cold efficiency. Perhaps, they thought, there was something to be said for the human concept of compassion, the willingness to act when logic suggested inaction. Frozen recovered fully over the following weeks, and during that time, she and Finch developed an unlikely friendship. She taught him about Zelthari philosophy and mathematics. He taught her about human emotion and art. They learned from each other, bridge builders between two vastly different species, and sometimes, when the snow fell gently outside the colony, Frozen would look at Finch and remember the moment when someone ran through a blizzard to save her life, not because it was logical, but because it was right. That, she had come to understand, was what it meant to be human.